Yeah, 100%. And I think that XiaoT knows that he's quite unfavored. For sure, we saw in the bans that what we predicted is actually correct. Kolento's Odd Rogue is gone and XiaoT Zoo, as you said. So it is just going to be starting off with the Tempo Mage for XiaoT. That's what Tice did a while ago, but we know that this matchup is not necessarily the best, but we did see Tice take the win over Bunny Hopper by not keeping, but having that Alaneth on 6 mana.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised, especially on the coin, if XiaoT decides to keep the Alunith, may keep the Archaeologist just to have that early game pressure. There's even some merit to keeping the Cosmic Anomaly, because if you keep the Cosmic Anomaly, you will have a fairly decent answer in the form of Spellstone, which is one of the main ways you really lose this matchup, is if your opponent goes Spellstone, you don't have that Cosmic Anomaly follow-up. But then again, that's kind of optimistic. You really have to hope to get that. But right now, that mulligan pays off, as not only does he get the Cosmic Anomaly back for maybe those future turns, but gets a Mana Worm on turn 1.
This is an insane start from XiaoT, but he's already here looking pretty nervous to be going up against K-God. No doubt that he put out a good performance. So Mana Worm into Archaeologist is the prime way to do that. Getting Alaneth early, I think, will play a huge role. But we cannot say that this game will go like it did with Tyson Bunny Hopper, because Bunny Hopper did miss out on the Spellstone there. If Kolento gets that, then you're right, this Cosmic Anomaly plus Shooting Star, if it's drawn, could do some extreme work.
And unfortunately for XiaoT, Kolento does have a fine play in this Crackling Razor Maw. Really does contest this Mana Worm pretty well. And if XiaoT wants to potentially clear off, or at least make the Mana Worm eligible for contesting the Crackling Razor Maw, he would need to make a very awkward play. You can't just play the Archaeologist, because there's a value trade waiting.
Yeah, it might be that XiaoT would be forced to respond to something as drastic as Coin Explosive Runes, but Kolento, I think, is choosing to respect the possibility of Frostbolt and instead goes for the Wandering Monster. I can definitely respect this, because unless XiaoT were to play a spell, it's unlikely that the Mana Worm would be able to clear a 3-cost minion, so it's likely that XiaoT actually just holds back.
I do like this as well. The Crackling Razor Maw was very tempting. However, if XiaoT has, say, Frostbolt, that could be very punishing, and I think Kolento wants to try and take as little damage as possible, and has the Animal Companion to follow up. Leok is not... Yeah, Leok's not the greatest right here.
Hoffer would have been able to take a value trade on... And even Misha would at least have to absorb some damage and kill off minions in the process. But yeah, this Leok... I'm not even sure if XiaoT needs to respect it, but looks like he's just going to start off by testing 4 traps here, so he's eliminated the possibility of Venom Strike, Freezing Trap, and Snake Trap with that one attack.
Yeah, starts to narrow it down, starts to figure out, how he can better efficiently play around these secrets. I wouldn't be surprised to potentially see maybe just an Explosive Runes and another value trade. There's also potential for the Arcane Missiles and the Hero Power, but I really like getting the Explosive Runes down, try and prevent any kind of shenanigans, and you guarantee that minion dies, because if it doesn't, then Hellmaster's coming down on the next turn.
That's right. And it also makes it awkward for Kolento if he wants to play the Animal Companion. It could be the one of Counterspell death. We see that Kolento has drawn into the Spellstone, but having no secrets and not able to play it on curve for much effect.
Ooh, and these...
No.
Yeah, these came out in the opposite order. If it came first, would have allowed a huge, massive value trade, and then if Leok came afterwards, would have allowed the offer just to be a bit obnoxious. I would have taken 2 trades out. But right now, if you're Kolento here, I wouldn't be surprised if you just kind of have to suck it up and take that trade in the Mana Worm.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's in no position here. And if he does go face, that opens up the possibility of XiaoT just clearing it with something like a spell. And then the problem of the Mana Worm is still there. So, that trade just breaks my heart to see, but it had to be done. Had to be done.
Yeah, that trade was heartbreaking as a Huffer is only meant to face, so kind of broke the Huffer rules. If you're XiaoT here, you do have a very strong play in either, I would say, developing the explosive runes, but I really like getting this Cosmic Anomaly down. I think the only punish in Kolento's deck right now would be that flanking strike, but I think the XiaoT may have to read that it's not there.
It is a 2-of in the deck, but yeah, that was a solid read. I think time you flanking strike over an Animal Companion. But then again, it could be that Kolento wanted to fit in a minion to maybe test for counterspell or explosive runes. It's basically testing for one, test for the other. So now there's no shooting star for XiaoT, but he has the potential to draw into it with Arcane Intellect. He can also somewhat likely clear up some minions between Cinderstorm, Arcane Missiles, and possibly Coin Ping if necessary.
Yeah, I really think you start off with the Cinderstorm here just to see where these missiles go. As you do get a 7, most likely clears up the majority, and you can finally fit that ping in on the last one. Question is, does XiaoT decide to go with proccing the secret now? Does he want to save it for later?
So in his mind, it can be either Wandering Monster or Explosive Trap. Of course, Wandering is more likely in the deck. I don't believe he's tested for Rat Trap either.
No, he hasn't tested for Rat Trap quite yet.
Oh.
And that's a little funny. I don't think the coin matters too much right now, but it could potentially matter in the near future. It's actually better that the minion died.
Yeah, I think that was a fairly decent outcome for Kolento. And now everything seems quite weak. The problem with playing out the Razor Maw and Houndmaster, while it leaves up very easy targets, quote unquote, for something like a Cosmic Anomaly, he's basically just hoping that XiaoT still doesn't have the shooting star.
And doesn't have it just quite yet, but could find it with that Sorcerer's Apprentice and the AI, or could just opt to maybe fireball away that minion. Still has access to the coin, can decide after drawing, and double Arcane Missiles. I wouldn't be surprised to just see that.
Yeah.
Try and clear up this board, fit into ping, push the 4 damage face. You're good to go.
Well, it is 10 damage that needs to be spread out on 7 health. I don't think it's that likely that it clears the Crackling Razor Maw, but with the ping, maybe. In some worlds, that consideration of coining the Fireball was actually a real deal. It feels awful to waste 4 damage onto a 5/4, but I think it might have given him a much better board position.
I think...
Oh,
I really think... I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I think I would have much rather seen the missiles come out first, because if you do clear up the Razor Maw, you can just fireball the face and then push the 4/3 face, and if you don't, you most likely can get the ping onto it. But I still think this is definitely a strong play as well.
I feel like the best order there would have been to start with Fireball, and after seeing the missiles go wrong, I like that he, to salvage that play, went for the Fireball. Because I think if you go second missiles, it's possible that both the minions survive, and then it's very awkward because you can't fit in a ping anymore. In any case, Rexar clears off 1.5 minions. This Cosmic Anomaly is really putting in some work. But it will be challenged by Secret Keeper here.
It's kind of funny that the Secret Keeper does challenge it. Oh, there is a pretty strong play in the Stargazer Luna into Kirin Tor.
And the secret, he gets 1 draw if it's... I think it has to be exactly Shooting Star because both 1-cost Arcane Missiles have been played. So that's unfortunate. The Cosmic Anomaly will die, but Kolento is in a really good position here. XiaoT is in a really good position still.
Yeah, the Secret Keeper does get buffed, but I don't think XiaoT is too worried about that, as this will most likely have to trade into the Cosmic Anomaly anyway, so I think XiaoT is more worried of just trying to get that down on the board, preventing anything from coming down in the future turns.
To me, it's looking like XiaoT might not even need a Lunith to the game. He has many draws for lethal, and Luna can draw even more. The Primordial Glyph can give them something insane. And Kolento is going to go for Subject 9 as opposed to looking for some kind of out with, the ordering on that. If you trade with the Secret Keeper first, you remove 2 extra damage from the Explosive Ruins.
You do, but I think Kolento is taking the risk by trying to keep the Secret Keeper alive by being able to play 2 secrets here and taking a value trade, because there is a chance that it is counterspell. And I think at this time you need to take risks right now.
All right, I can definitely see that. He might even be thinking of taking it as far as value trading the Luna after playing another secret.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah. It's the greedy play, but like at this point, if you're playing just to survive, there's no way you win. You have to hope that XiaoT's hand is absolute trash. And Freezing Trap, and what was the other one?
Leave the other one. I'm not actually quite sure. I did blank out for just a moment when the secrets were being played.
I'm gonna guess it's Explosive. So
I would guess so as well.
So one of these minions will get sent back to the hand, but XiaoT has outs for Glyph Lethal, for Daze. Oh, never mind. With the ordering, both of them are unable to attack because... that's actually really smart.
Yeah, the ordering was great from Kolento there. Unfortunately, what's not great for Kolento is this Lunith that XiaoT has just played, and that is too much damage. I think Kolento is going to need some kind of lifesteal minion here.
Not it. You can draw whatever second copy of your secret, which is hardly any. But in this case, of course, you just take the cheapest minion. Maybe he gets that Blood Worm, is it called? That doesn't have a rush, though.
I mean, the most I can see is it would have had to have been Life Drinker plus Vicious Scalehead or something like that. I think the Vicious Scalehead is the take. Question is that enough?
I mean, he might have to risk playing it on board now because XiaoT could very much play mini game, and so Kolento needs to stick it and maybe get the lifesteal off a natural attack.
That's a big risk to take, but I think you're exactly right. I think he has to go.
So most of the time, there should be some form of XiaoT. Currently 1 off with the Anomaly, Frostbolt, and Ping.
There's still a Fireball left in the deck.
Any form of like Cinderstorm or Arcane Missiles, most of the time will... Actually, it should because of the Shooting Star. The mana isn't there if he gets Cinderstorm, though. I feel like I might have preferred to see the Glyph there just because of the way the mana works out.
I think with a Glyph here, you can AI first. So Glyph on the follow-up, just to try and see if you get any kind of burn, because any kind of burn will still be lethal. Oh, Glyph number 2.
You could also take the Molten Reflection and set up for the next turn, going Cosmic, Molten, and then Frostbolt.
Ooh, the Rat Trap finally comes out. It's going to make the missiles a little bit more awkward.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, Cinderstorm is, of course, burn. But if you're expecting something like Rat Trap, it's essentially negating the burn because of the health it puts on board. So actually going for maybe the Cosmic and Molten Reflection would have made your Shooting Star into a little Flame Strike even more powerful.
Yeah, I don't think XiaoT is too worried about the Rat Trap right now. I think he's just trying to find those final burn spells in order to end this game as quickly as possible.
Yeah, without a second lifesteal, this should just be it, right? With the Cosmic and double Frostbolt, that's 10 damage. I
believe so.
You found the Beetle, but it doesn't have an immediate activator. can't even flanking strike it because it has the buff from the other minion. Oh, does it have rush?
It does.
Oh, okay. So he'll go to 12, and XiaoT is again 1 off, but that's with ping. But if he lands even just one of the Cinder Storms to face... Oh, wait, that should be... So that's +3 on each Frostbolt.
I believe so.
That's... Yeah, perfect.
Should just be lethal damage, and XiaoT just barely gripping on is going to go ahead and take that one. It was looking kind of scary for him at the end. Didn't have that Alunith. Kolento was going to build those beasts and kind of trying to end the game that way, but XiaoT finally takes it in the end.
And that was a deck that we've been saying, even with Tice, looks like it might have struggled a bit, but the Tempo Mage has been able to against these supposedly unfavored matchups against Hunter, but the common denominator is that they both had Alunith as soon as they wanted it. So that card really just puts in so much work, especially against a deck that doesn't run any weapons. So that's step one for XiaoT trying to take a very unfavored series.
Yeah, Alunith is just insane. That's why I think sometimes you just keep it in the mulligan, and I'm a little surprised Tice earlier on just didn't keep it in the mulligan, but his situation was much different where he didn't have those early game minions, and he kind of relied on, getting it later on because he needed those early games, whereas XiaoT was presented both the early game and the weapon, so it made sense that he would keep it.
Yeah, everything that he needed was there for him, but there's still this big challenge of trying to with this odd Hunter, which I think should really struggle against the decks from Kolento. Even Shaman should eat that up. Odd Paladin, I'm inclined to give it to the Odd Paladin, although this is the only Hunter in the meta that runs... I wouldn't even call it in the meta, actually.
It does run Unleash the Hounds, but sometimes just that constant hero power over and over summoning 1/1s is just way too much for Hunter to deal with. They would need something like a Dire Mole or that Emerald Hive Queen, and even then, it just kind of gets out of hand. So this Hunter is going to be the real struggling point for XiaoT, but at least he got his Mage through. I think Mage was another one of those struggling points.
Trying to look at what I would expect the normal build of Odd Hunter to be. Honestly, I wouldn't know what it's like, but this deck is also including the Blackwalled Pixie for you to get that 6 damage on a 3/4 body on turn.
Oh, yeah.
That's real cute. But to me, it looks like if this deck is forced to run cards like that, and cards like Emerald Hive Queen, am I seeing that right? That's the one that makes your minions more expensive?
That is Emerald Hive Queen, the 1 mana 2/3 that makes your minions increase by 2 in mana cost. That card, not a card we see too often, but I believe it was one of the games, the driving force behind the game in which it just kept pushing face.
Well, I guess if your game plan is just to hit the heroes, you play other than that. Anyway, man, I don't know how this deck gets any work done, but I hope to be proven wrong, just because it's always nice to see things shaking up the meta a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, XiaoT didn't hit exactly what he was looking for with queuing into Kolento, but he definitely did hit it in his group. But we're not going to see that quite yet. It's going to be...
Odd Rogue and the Secret Hunter, second try for Kolento.
And XiaoT, besides the Leroy, looks like he's got a pretty strong hand.
Yeah, I would keep all that except Leroy. And also the Secret Keeper from Kolento lines up pretty well for XiaoT with his deck, especially since Kolento doesn't have any secrets, but expect he'll mulligan one of the animal companions away. Try to get something to buff up a little Secret Keeper.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see so either. I would say typically this is a pretty decent matchup overall for the Hunter, as it does have that card right there, Flanking Strike. But another reasons why it was stronger in the past was because of cards like Candle Shot and coupled with the Flanking Strike. But I don't believe there are any Candle Shots in Kolento's list. It's more of that, minion-oriented version.
So already the turn for XiaoT feels a little bad that you don't get to immediately clear the Secret Keeper, but I think the cost of coining Dagger is far too high here. It delays both your Hench Clan thugs by quite a while, and even if Kolento were to play a Secret next turn, as long as it wasn't freezing, then you can go Argent Squire and Dagger to clear up the Keeper in the next turn. So just like playing the Argent here.
Yeah, I really do like the Argent. Maybe if you didn't have a 1-drop, there would be some merit for coining out that hero power, as you wouldn't have the strongest way of dealing with this Secret Keeper. But definitely need to save that coin for, a potential Edwin play later on. And Kolento just going to go ahead and draw the second one and tempo it out.
Yeah. Funny enough, this works out really nice for XiaoT. He wanted to Dagger. And of course, Kolento would respect the Divine Shield in case of something like Blood Knight, but now XiaoT gets to clear both the minions and set up for Hench Clans aplenty, possibly even a big Van Cleef of Firefly, and he still has the coin.
Yeah, XiaoT is looking like he's in a pretty strong position. This Liak obviously, was not the best roll, but at least it wasn't something like a Huffer that would immediately get killed by the Dagger XiaoT has up currently. Wouldn't be surprised to see potentially Hench Clan thugs swing the Dagger face. Don't think there's any merit for going wide quite yet. And if you go for that, even if Kolento were to have something like Flanking Strike, would have to commit that onto the minion and then trade the Liak off as well.
I think the fear here is Houndmaster for XiaoT. So it might seem like a waste, but he could use the Deadly Poison for 1 attack and still be able to coin out a 3-drop. I'm just not sure which of the 3-drop options, because the Edwin is a 6/6, the Hench Clan can keep growing.
I think if you go for the Deadly Poison play, you definitely want to get the Hench Clan on board, as it will, be the most threatening immediately, and it's going to take 2 turns to get the Hench Clan thug even remotely close to it anyways.
Yeah, the one thing I wouldn't like to see is a Redagger and Deadly Poison. I think that is way too onto the. So XiaoT is gonna go for the strongest minion on curve and a full clear of Kolento's board. This is Resilient to Flanking Strike. I like it.
Yeah, I like this a lot. It also plays around that Houndmaster.
Wow, just top deck. Wow.
I mean, it was great recognition from XiaoT to understand that he needed to play around the Houndmaster, or things could have gotten a little dicey.
So I said a while ago that the Edwin is resilient to Flanking Strike. That is only half true. It's resilient to the hit, but because XiaoT had to pay the price of only using the Deadly for 1 charge, he doesn't have a good way of clearing this wolf. I don't think it's a big problem, though. He can simply redevelop 2 minions, push face. Even if the Houndmaster were to come down, it kind of demands trading. And if it trades into the Hench Clan, then XiaoT can respond with a Dagger to clear it up on the backswing, and his Edwin survives. So maybe
Kolento...
This is
looking really good.
Yeah, Kolento, I was thinking he might even have to Spellstone there, but yeah, this makes more sense because you prevent the Hench Clan from growing this way.
Yeah, he really needed to prevent the Hench Clan thug from just getting too out of control. We can see that XiaoT, second Hench Clan thug, I wouldn't be surprised to see him just play that Dagger up, hit him in the face, because Kolento is getting pretty low on life. He's still at, 21, but he's going to be going to 18 pretty soon, and eventually with the Fungal Mancer, that's game over.
Very true indeed. Even if Kolento were to draw a secret, he doesn't have the mana to play both it and the buff Spellstone this turn. And any secret here is not that effective on its own, because the Freezing Trap, XiaoT has this Dire Mold to deal with it, and if Kolento wanted to remove it, he'd have to give up his last Dagger charge, so makes sense to just go for the Subject 9 and give himself more options for the next turn.
Yeah, Subject 9 was a blessing in disguise, as it does allow Kolento to upgrade this Spellstone while being... Oh, that was...
We're
probably the best draw on the
huh?
deck. I like the idea of it. I am in love with the idea of it. Why not? Deckhand, Fungal Mancer, go.
So the deckhand will do 4 damage. You have 6 with the Dagger, and then 7 +7 with this Hench Clan Thug, so that is just gonna mean XiaoT is putting Kolento down to 4 health. And
I think if there's anything that...
Yeah,
I'm trying to think if there's anything. So, does find that...
Okay, so he can
command...
isolate the Hench Clan Thug and then play Freezing Trap. So he kill commands the deckhand, value trade into the fungal, you play Freezing, you also have 2 more mana to play another secret.
Could potentially get that Wandering Monster down, as the dagger would not be able to swing face that turn.
Yeah.
Or I believe it actually would if you put the Hench Clan Thug in first. He's just thinking on what's the best way to go about doing this. Is there another alternative line of play, or does it have to be, the isolation play?
I like the kill command Wandering Freezing a lot. I think the only punish is charging, and you just saw the deckhand. Going for something like Houndmaster to taunt up your Subject 9 is so weak to Vile Spine.
Yeah, I definitely think this is like the only legitimate play. The question is what others fit. I think it has to be that Wandering Monster to make sure.
Yeah, is exactly what Kolento goes for. And oof. If you're XiaoT, maybe it looks like you want to play down a bunch of supplies just to have minions to proc these secrets, but they all die to Explosive Trap. Did you catch the order in which Kolento played the secret?
It would have been Freezing first plus Wandering Monster afterwards. Actually, no. Wandering Monster first, Freezing Trap afterwards.
Mm-hmm. So XiaoT just gonna test for what the secret is first. Oh, that's a bit unfortunate. That's a really well-statted minion.
One of the best 3-drop statted minions.
It even makes it so that Kolento can double trade into those minions to clear off the Hench Clan Thug. I don't think he would be inclined to do so because the Freezing Trap still hasn't been procced. But he'll have to face off all these other Fireflies to make sure that they don't proc the Freezing Trap. So yeah, as this graphic is conveniently telling us, Rexar is a 6.7% chance to draw, and that is Kolento's perfect out here.
I mean, I think Mossy Horror would also be a pretty decent out, too. You'd be able to clear up the majority of the board, still isolate that Hench Clan Thug from ever being able to attack. But you're right, Deathstalker Rexar would be potentially the next best thing, if not better, because you would start to be able to build those beasts turn after turn.
So Kolento can once again isolate the Hench Clan, but it comes at a very hefty price. You would invest Kill Command, Eagle Horn Bow, and the Hero Power. If he wants to go for an Explosive Trap play, which I prefer, he can go Kill Command on the Hench Clan, trade in 1 minion, set up your Explosive, and at least use the other minion to go face. With that play, he can also fit in the Eagle Horn Bow. It's weak to some other kind of buff though, but he's seen 1 Fungal Mancer.
Kolento's in a tough spot here. Really wants to isolate this Hench Clan Thug, and I think he needs to. The question is just how does he go about doing it? Looks like he's just going to go ahead and clean it up right away, get that Explosive down. That's another, decent line of play, as it will allow Kolento more breathing space, but 2 dagger swings in the face, the game could just be over.
I mean, you say that, but Kolento is threatening 12 damage. 17 with the Kill Command, 20 with his Eagle Horn Bow, and 22 with the Hero Power. So he's actually managed to set up counter lethal. Amazing play, and XiaoT is now forced to trade off one of the wolves because of it. Unless he wants to not respect Explosive Trap. And at this point, I think he might have to not respect it if he has any chance of winning the game. Well, okay, what he can do, this is much better. You trade off 1 wolf and then use the dagger to proc the other. But then Kolento can Houndmaster and create Haunt to prevent the dagger from giving lethal.
That is true, but if XiaoT goes wide, could potentially Cold Blood one of the minions. or could draw either SI7 or Biospine for potential lethal outs. The question is, how much damage does Kolento have in the follow-up?
14, 17. This is 19 with Kill Command and the Eagle Horn Bow.
Yeah!
Wow! Oh my gosh, this game was really tense. Just checking it again. I'm pretty sure it's just it. Or is he BMing?
No, I think it was just double-checking and triple-checking the math.
Alright. Man, I thought XiaoT was so far ahead in that game once the Edwin came down, but Kolento found that amazing play. Make sure that he set up the explosive trap. In the end, the freezing didn't make a huge deal, but it was there to prevent the Hench clan at least a couple turns. And with that one clutch Spellstone play, that's 5 mana, create 12/12 of stats. That's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd. And Kolento, gonna go ahead and tie up the series 1-1 right now. I mean, wouldn't expect any less. He does have that favorable lineup into XiaoT. And it's looking like we're going to have a close series. I still think XiaoT is going to have such a hard time getting his Hunter through, especially with that matchup. I think out of all the matchups, that might have been the one that the Hunter could get through on is the mirror, per se, or at least the mirror of the classes.
Yeah, looking at the rest of it, I'm not so certain how the Odd Hunter can outpace the Odd Paladin. I'm not certain if it can beat the healing potential from this Even Shaman, which has Hagatha and Lifesteal and the Corpse Takers. So XiaoT, it's an uphill battle, but I think that game was very, very close and well played by both sides. And I hope to see that they maintain the same level of level-headedness.
Yeah, I definitely like that as well. I think XiaoT was just one more impactful draw away from taking that game. But unfortunately for him, he kind of just fizzled out towards the end. Right now, Kolento's got that Even Shaman and Odd Paladin. Two, decks that have fallen off quite a bit in the metagame, if they're, even widely considered in the metagame right now, as not many people do bring them. And XiaoT's got, what I would consider to at least have never been in the metagame in that Odd Hunter.
Yeah, and I want to bring a little attention to this Odd Paladin list from Kolento. I think it looks pretty similar a couple months ago, where you're still running that one Stormwind champion. There's no techs like Giggling Inventor and Blood Knight, as some people have been running. And I wonder what the reasoning for building it this way was for Kolento. But that is going to be the deck running into, I'd say, a really good matchup either way. Odd Rogue hates this matchup more than anything.
Yeah, I think it was already you saying that Kolento just said, you know what? Odd Paladin's good, and you don't need a single new card in the deck. Let's just go ahead and play the old version, and it is still just a solid deck. And XiaoT does not... then again, I wasn't going to say that XiaoT is not going to match up he's, looking forward to here with this Odd Rogue, because Odd Rogue is notoriously weak to Odd Paladin, but I can't say much about the Odd Hunter as well, because the Odd Hunter is also going to struggle probably more than the Odd Rogue will.
That's right. Looking at XiaoT's hand, at the very least, he has this Dire Mole. I think if the Odd Rogue is to hit, it's maybe 30 or less % of winning this matchup. It's like it requires having not just one Dire Mole, but 2 Dire Mole or Dire Mole and Firefly. The best thing the Odd Rogue can do is just play out a bunch of Fireflies in the game so that they can eat up these little recruits. But yeah, in this matchup, basically, the upgraded dagger feels like the old dagger. It's most of the time just dealing 1 damage anyway.
Yeah, that it does. But the one thing Kolento, you saw him go for this coin play. I definitely like it. Get as many minions on the possible. The one good thing about it is that it's going to allow this Corridor Creeper to come down basically on turns 3 or 4 whenever Kolento chooses to do so. And right now, XiaoT doesn't have like another die. Just has to keep re-daggering and then clearing everything off.
It's really the worst feeling as Odd Rogue, and you can so rarely ever find the window to start pushing damage to the face, and it feels like the second level up, Raid Leader, Fungalmancer, there's just endless things that the Odd Paladin can do to... So, yeah, I don't think the odds are looking too good for XiaoT.
So right now, Kolento could have bumped off this shield, reduce that quarter creeper to 1 mana, and then play the quarter creeper alongside his hero power right now. And Kolento's just thinking about, does he want to go for that? Is that weak to anything? I think you can kind of save it for a turn, just because of, how powerful your next couple turns are going to be, and you'd rather get that trade.
Yeah. I'm not completely sold on this because the alternative of playing Firefly, it kind of gives XiaoT a preferable dagger target, but maybe that 1 mana essentially saved by Kolento by delaying the quarter creeper a turn will come in handy. XiaoT is just hoping that, can I please, Hearthstone God, stick 2 minions so I can get a Fungalmancer 1 life against Odd Paladin. And actually, it's looking like he might be able to, unless Kolento wants to commit a pretty lackluster raid leader.
Could commit the raid leader, could also commit a Blessing of Might. I think the Blessing of Might's a bit weak here if you want to commit to that. But I definitely think, something has to happen here. I wouldn't be surprised to see the raid leader take a trade and then double Corridor Creeper. That seems like a very insanely powerful turn. But Kolento could be holding on to these Corridor Creepers, just trying to make sure he gets a Fungalmancer target for the following turns. But I think they're too strong here just not to play.
Yeah, I think the Corridor Creepers together on the turn right before Stain. And Kolento is actually just going to commit this Blessing of Might so that he saves enough mana to fit in the hero power and also provides no good dagger target by keeping the raid leader. I can respect this, even though it looks like a waste.
I do like this play a lot. I think as Odd Paladin, you want fitting in a hero power every single turn to, make sure you're utilizing your cards to the fullest potential. That hero power is absurd in this matchup. I definitely think you want it to come down every turn.
Kolento will be the proverbial first player to land the Fungalmancer, which is one of the most important things you can do in an aggro. It will only be good enough to clear one of these Annoyatrons, and that means XiaoT can play his own Fungalmancer. Kolento smartly clearing off the Divine Shield. I like this better than clearing just 1 minion. It makes the Fungalmancer a little bit weaker and somewhat plays around Blood Knight as well.
Yeah, that it does. I would like to see the Deckhand Bilespine come out here. You need to clean up this board. It's actually scary that XiaoT has the board over Kolento right now. It's not something you'd see too often, especially in this particular matchup. I think XiaoT has to take advantage of this and push as much damage as face as possible to end this game as quickly as possible. Apologize if we are robotic sounding. I'm not quite sure why. Not sure if, our beautiful voices are better now. I have no clue whatsoever. Sorry about that. We're trying our best here, trying to make sure everything's going and running as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, production is happening from very many ends here, and the main people handling it are very far. But I do think that we can still get a grasp of what's happening. Unfortunately, this is a mashup where it's really fast, but it seems like the last turn, XiaoT was able to set up this whiteboard with the Giggling Inventor and then just cleared off the small minions, wasted no time clearing the Corridor Creeper, which I definitely like. And he's now put himself in a position where second Fungalmancer could be really powerful.
Yeah, I really like the Fungalmancer out here for XiaoT, and I love how aggressive XiaoT is. Really seeing that, there's not that many minions on the other side. Can even take a value trade there and try to end this game. XiaoT has found himself in a very favorable position.
This is awesome. He's doing what Odd Paladin likes to do sometimes, isolating one threat from their opponent and forcing it to make trades into very tiny minions, inefficient trades just to survive. And now Kolento, and if he just plays the Vine Cleaver, he's very close to dying from what he can see on board. And we can see from what XiaoT has in hand, I think that will just be game.
Yeah, this is actually crazy. I believe this is out, has a deadly poison, has the SI7 agent. I'll go to clean up this game. That is a very crucial win for XiaoT. All he has to do now is slide his win through in with the Hunter, and he is moving on to the top 4 and keeping China's hope alive of winning an Aston Martin.
That is quite a story, winning an extremely unfavorable matchup. And I like how you mentioned slide in with that Hunter because this deck doesn't look like it's very favored, but I was just talking about Odd Paladin matchup is for Rogue. So maybe XiaoT can get the right hand, get the good stuff, and keep the hope alive for China.
Yeah, XiaoT is China's last hope of having a Chinese victor in EU versus CN. But I think EU would much rather have a top 4 star-studded with all of EU's finest players. Kolento, he is down 1-2 now, but he still has a pretty favorable lineup against XiaoT's last deck.
Yeah, both the Even Shaman and Odd Paladin, from how it looks, should have a pretty good time against this deck, but I'm trying to look at this list and figure out if the Odd Hunter can do, what is the high roll hand for them. I feel like the best start they can get is Dire Mole, Coin Emerald, Hive Queen, and then what?
And then Hero Power and start chipping away. I think that's the real game plan. We did see, XiaoT really understands this deck very well. I saw him pilot it, against Tice extremely well, and almost won the game. Was 1 damage off of lethal at the very end of the game, and then Tice had follow-up lethal while XiaoT was at 25 health or something just ridiculously high.
Wow.
So I think he can do it. It's just, will Odd Hunter be able to get there?
That situation you mentioned sounds close and similar to that matchup that with Kolento and the Hunter.
Yeah, it was very similar to that. And XiaoT, if he's going to do it, I think Double Tire Mole Firefly is the hand to do it with.
That is an anti-Odd Paladin hand if I've ever seen it. That is good. He could have 4 minions on turn by turn 2 that can each deal with at least 1 recruit.
This is absolutely insane. I think the only way this gets better is finding yet another Firefly and just doing what Odd Paladin does better by making them just slightly higher statted. That way they become Silver Hand Fruit Eater.
Yes, that is exactly what these minions are. These are not dire moles. They are recruit eaters. Well, I guess Righteous Protector eaters for the first few, but you get the point. Kolento, however, will have access to this Blessing of Might, which will be able to eat up both of these dire moles. From Kolento's perspective, I expect XiaoT will expend the Arcane Shot after one of them gets cleared.
Yeah, so this is, fairly decent in Kolento's eyes as it does clean it up. But we actually see that XiaoT has the quote-unquote best answer to this in the form of being able to Arceus Veteran to take a value trade, and then Arcane Shot the Righteous Protector off the board.
Yeah, those are kind of an alliteration of cards, accurate, arcane, but yeah, at least for Kolento, it means that, I actually really like the face play. Because the only punish from XiaoT, the real punish, it's nothing better than double Arcane Shot, right? In which case, you're not even sad.
Yeah, there was no real punish. Most of the time, when you have a play like this, you want to kind of force your opponent to just kind of trade in, because you know that XiaoT isn't going to be... I guess they could potentially double Arcane Shot, but if they're doing that, then they literally have no resources, and you start hero powering away, get that Stonehill Defender, or just another 1-drop on the play. So I really like that play. You just force your opponent to, make the trade that you were going to anyways.
Right, so XiaoT is going to go for exactly what you mentioned a while ago. Trade on. Be able to respond with Stonehill, which is... I'm not too sure if he'd rather do that than go in the... Because both of them have their merits, right? Playing the Stonehill challenges 2-1, but it means that XiaoT can trade in the Darmol and survive. If he plays Recruits and 1-2, that means the 1-2 will get eaten by the Darmol, but both the Recruits challenge the 2-1.
Yeah, I think you need to hero power every turn. I think that's what puts you just ahead of the game in this matchup. The only issue is how exactly do you go about doing this the best way? I think it has to be the 1-2 plus the hero power. I don't think there's any other strong play. Can follow it up with the Stonehill Defender and the Arceus Veteran if Kolento chooses to do so. And I think XiaoT right now, the name of the game is to just play out smaller minions even more. I think he just has to keep playing out the smaller minions.
Man, is it double Firefly? I'm quite tempted to go for the Pixie here just because of mana issues.
Pixie is tempting. I could see the Pixie. Could also potentially be some, weird hybrid play where XiaoT goes for a Firefly hero power, but I definitely like the Pixie now that you've mentioned it. It will be very awkward later on, and it does help XiaoT try and, fight for the board somehow, because you really want to try and be mana efficient for the next upcoming turns with your hero power, as that's how you're going to win the game.
XiaoT has decided he doesn't want to take any bad-looking trades, so he sends the Icarus to face right away. And it's actually a consideration of trade the Mole into the Recruit or the 1-2. And I like this trade because if you're expecting level up in the next turn after this, then you won't be able to clear off enough minions if you spend the time trading into the Flame Elemental. And because you don't have any minions that have one attack, it's like the Flame Elemental won't get any value trades anyway, unless there is a blessing of some sort. At that point, he had already seen one. But yeah, it's really looking like Kolento just has this in the bag now. The hero power far outpaces what the Hunter hero power can do.
Alright, well, triple 1-drop is a start for XiaoT. He can try and squeeze his way back in the game, but you're exactly... just because you can deal 3 damage every turn doesn't mean you can answer the board state, and if Kolento's just making 1-1s turn after turn, it's going to be enough to end the game.
It's actually
it looks like he's trying to fit in a hero power.
Weave it in, Dr. J, weave it in.
Nothing's wrong with little weaving it in.
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is Kolento will just go for the Stonehill, which will stave off any pressure, and then he himself has the right to start going face as well. He just needs to be aware of possible Unleash the Hounds plays, which is literally the only way XiaoT can come back at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised to see XiaoT just ship this Arceus Veteran face. I think that's kind of what he's playing for right now. He needs to end this game, and he needs to get as much damage out as possible, because he cannot take the Odd Paladin for the long run. And, Kolento is going to make some trades for him anyways. Actually a little shocked to not see that go face. I guess maybe Fungalmancer, but if Fungalmancer comes down, you're most likely losing this game anyways.
Yeah, Kolento has his choice of things to play. Even the Sacred Maul, since he gets an easier way to deal with the Hive Queen and the Firefly. Which would Grizzly looks insane.
That is pretty insane against the deck that plays with no hand.
First quick shot in this meta. Dr. J, we need it back.
And even then, it's an even cost card. So that could not be in the list either. I think it has to be the Grizzly here.
Simple. We just make an odd hunter. I mean, an even hunter, and then you can weave it in every turn.
Yeah, why would you want to do 3 damage when you could deal 2 damage on 1? Looks like Kolento prioritizes the Omega Defender because he'll be able to hero power alongside it. So I definitely see where his head's at for that play.
So Huffer can get a little work done, but it will just get beaten by after value trading into Stonehill. I actually feel like you need to hope for Misha and just pray that Kolento has 0 buffs in hand. No Fungal Mancer, no Attack Maul, no level up. And then maybe the recruits are forced to trade into Misha to get through.
Yeah, I think you have to go for something like that. I don't think you can stall too long. Even Huffer, I guess, is okay because you can value trade in and hero power. I think that one was potentially the worst of them, but you still have to do something.
We've seen 3 Leox out of 4 animal companions. I think we saw 1. At the very least, it had. Oh, never mind. That's a Fungal Mancer. So Kolento can fungal up 2 recruits, trade off a value trade into Leok and trade 1, and then he can take a value trade with other onto the Emerald Hive Queen, push some more face damage. He's buffing up the taunt instead, which I guess is better around will Unleash the Hounds. I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think this is basically just game over, and that's actually quite a bit of damage that XiaoT has. Unfortunately for him, he has not weaved his hero power in quite enough.
Hear me
wouldn't
out.
be surprised. Alright, I'm listening.
This is 13. Well, okay, he only has 6 mana. But over 2 turns at 13, and then Kolento would only be at 9, right? So you only need to win 3 more hero powers.
And also live and... I mean, I guess you could do 2 with Blackwall Pixie.
I'm not saying it's possible. It's highly unlikely. But I just think it's very impressive that the Hunter is able to do this much damage without any minions, well, barely any minions, actually even connecting to the face.
That is the beauty of Hunter. Sometimes it doesn't need to have minions in order to end the game.
So Vine Cleaver... Maybe he'd rather play less minions because of Unleash the Hounds thing. He could go for the 4-drop and then the Maul. Kolento just needs to make sure he sets up 3-turn lethal. I think that's the best he can do with the cards he has.
Yeah, I think I believe that's a taunt maul, so could just use that. I believe, like you were saying. Also, just has taunt minions. I think this is game over. Kolento has to, take his time and make sure that he doesn't, play too carelessly. I think even hero powering is fine if Unleash the Hounds were to come out.
So let's say XiaoT consecutively draws Unleash the Hounds. So if it's the draw next turn, he can play that and kill command, trade off 1 wolf to kill the Omega Defender, and then the rest of the wolves will possibly go face, since I think you have the read, there's no level up. That's not the draw off the top, though. So any hopes of an out I was thinking of have been extinguished.
Yeah, I don't think there's any out left for XiaoT. I don't think he can make Deathstalker Rexar cost 5 to 7 mana to even have a chance at this game. So it looks like we're going to be going to a game number 5. It's just going to, take a little bit of time because Kolento just has to navigate it to where he doesn't slip up anywhere.
Yeah, if only he had drawn level up or something, this game could have been done a lot sooner, but now he needs to be very careful. Situations like this always remind me of that game of Surrender, was it? A really epic game where he took a really ugly double trade into a minion just to play around Unleash the Hounds as a single out. And it was exactly the top deck for his opponent. And that was the reason that Surrender won the game. So Kolento's just making sure there is zero way he loses.
All right, now XiaoT is going to give it up. We're going to be going to game number 5. XiaoT, China's last representative in EU versus CN, could be knocked out with 1 more game.
And it will be the even shaman for Kolento. This is a deck which has been banned a surprisingly high number of times throughout this tournament, but it's for good reason. Kolento and Bunny Hopper run in opponents with lineups that they very much built their own to be a bit better against. So even Shaman, I would say that the Odd Hunter at first glance would most likely struggle against it, just because that they have healing, which most other quote-unquote board-based and aggressive decks do not.
Yeah, I think it's also just the fact that, they also have access to a lot of very strong taunt minions as well that most decks may not have, exact access to. But I think the main point is, like you said, that healing inside of the Corpse Taker, just getting that Wind Fury and Lifesteal. There's no real way for Hunter to kind of deal with it.
I think for the Odd Hunter to take this, you have to hope that the scale height is drawn before any of the Corpse Takers are played. And in that case, that leaves only one form of healing in the deck that is consistent, but there is still Calamos. And I guess there's the Hagatha armor too. The more I think about it, Dr. J, the less I like XiaoT's odds.
Yeah, XiaoT it's not looking too good for him right now. Wouldn't be surprised to see him keep the Dire Mole, put back the Deckhand, maybe even keep that Animal Companion. We see Kolento, he's a man with a plan. He keeps the Corpse Taker, making sure I'm going to get that lifesteal. There's no way I'm getting smorked out this game.
And the Primal Fin is so strong in this matchup. I expect that thing to be coined out, and it will be just spitting out Murlocs for days, unless XiaoT can pick up exactly the arcane shot to be able to deal with it with this Dire Mole.
Yeah, XiaoT has had Dire Mole both games. Dire Mole is a very powerful card, as it does allow those early trades to kind of try and snowball the board out of control for XiaoT. Does pick up a Firefly as well. We'll have access to go Dire Mole this turn, Firefly, Flame Elemental into Animal Companion. I'm not quite sure if that's going to be enough work XiaoT, because Kolento does have a pretty strong hand of his own.
Yeah, already it's looking pretty dire, especially with the Knife Juggler in hand. All these little minions from XiaoT could be taking unfavorable trades quite soon.
I think XiaoT, he's off to a decent start, though. Can't just play Firefly, Flame Elemental, take a value trade, and just kind of sit there, and there's no real strong response from Kolento's side.
That's true. The Knife Juggler would not be enough with one juggle, no matter which minion it is. So, double Firefly. I was thinking ever any merit for playing the deckhand.
I think that's what XiaoT was thinking. Ooh.
I would hate to see that trade. It's not only bad to Dire Mole, but also tongue. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think he was just, overthinking it a little bit. Just wanted to make sure. I do like how XiaoT's hand is panning out, and Kolento is kind of whiffing a little bit. So maybe we're counting XiaoT out just a little bit too soon.
Okay.
It is looking decent for him right now.
Might be that Kolento has to just play a Dire Mole, maybe the Juggler. Both of them are essentially doing the same thing. It deals 1 damage. The Dire Mole can give the 1 damage to the Primal Fin to trade into something, and the Knife Juggler can deal the 1 damage without damaging the Primal Fin, which is why I'm more in favor of the Knife Juggler. So, a bit curious about positioning there. I feel like you'd want to be buffing the token. But anyway, this is a situation where Leok is good now. Once.
So I think Kolento's idea behind this was that he wants... Oh gosh, that is absolutely insane. I think Kolento's idea behind this was that he wanted to make sure that if XiaoT decides to swing into the Primal Fin totem, that it will actually kill the minions, because if he does place the if he does place the Direwolf on the opposite side, the 1/1 will get buff, which sure kill a minion, but XiaoT has the option to just ignore it and keep his minions at a full healthy life total. So I think that's what Kolento was going for there when he decided to place it that way.
And good point. And just like that, this Knife Juggler looks like it has to hit the 1 in 4 just for Kolento to look like he's still in the game. That's not it. And well, this Hive Queen can do some work.
I wouldn't be surprised to see deckhand Hive Queen hero power, and then take some value trades. The question is, XiaoT is going to be considering the Sea Giant math here. Could opt to trade off the 2/1 to make sure Sea Giant does not come down. I believe that's what he's going to be widely considering. Oh, actually, the value trade would work out either way. The value trade would mean that the Sea Giant does not come down because it would go to 5 mana. So, yeah, the value trade seems good here and just can push it face.
I guess there's the option of not using the Leok to protect it from Fire Plume Phoenix. Either way, XiaoT is looking in a very strong spot now. And he even has Kill Command to deal with a possible Corpse Taker in the future. And Kolento has to respect the Leok. And wow, XiaoT can just deal 6 without the minions this turn.
Maybe there was something to this matchup that we just weren't thinking about. And XiaoT showing us this matchup, may just be strong. Because right now, Kolento doesn't have, the greatest sources of healing. Has to commit to this Corpse Taker. And even when he does, Kill Command's around the corner to kind of clean it up without giving Kolento too much health.
I will say this. Kolento didn't draw his Merc Spark kills this match.
That is true.
You need in there. But yeah, XiaoT has played this as cleanly as possible. And with the pickup of the Arcane Shot, he can prevent this Corpse Taker from dealing or healing any at all.
Looks like that's what XiaoT's going for here. Oh, Iron Beak Owl.
The audience is very audible and for good reason. I think we take that every day.
I mean, the funny thing about the Iron Beak Owl, no, I don't think you take the Beak Owl. Can't play it this turn because of the Emerald Hive Queen.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting about that.
So, I think the audience got really excited thinking, oh, Iron Beak Owl! But, unfortunately, not many people remember that Emerald Hive Queen actually is not just a 1-mana 2/3.
Yeah, it's not a zombie Shao. I am guilty of that. Well, anyway, Kolento's best play here is what? Fire Plume the deckhand and use your elemental. Oh no, I don't know what it's called. The buff +2/+2, and then get a random elemental.
Kolento's best play here is to, I guess, get on the plane back home. I'm not sure. I think he's done for here.
That is brutal.
I know it is, but unfortunately for him, there's nothing he can do here because this is just lethal in the follow-up. XiaoT is going to be your 3rd player going through to the top 4 representing China.
And that was such a close series. Holy man, I think I really wrote out XiaoT way too soon there, and I apologize for that. The lineup didn't look like it could get there, but with solid play and some solid draws to back it up, XiaoT is a very worthy representative to go to the semi-finals, where he will face off against either Fury Hunter or AH3650.
Yeah.